I never thought I'd see a story like this unfold in our small village. It's the kind of thing you hear about in old tales, but no one ever expects it to happen right before their eyes. It all began with two men, Prince Andoh, the son of our chief, and Kojo, a simple farmer. They had nothing in common except Oma. Oma wasn't just beautiful, she was kind, wise, and had a smile that could brighten anyone's day. Everyone knew Oma, and many admired her from afar. But two men fell deeply in love with her, the mighty Prince Andoh and Kojo, the humble farmer. You could see it, every time Oma passed by, Prince Andoh's eyes would follow her. He was used to getting whatever he wanted, and now he wanted Oma. But Oma's heart wasn't something money or power could buy. No, Oma had fallen in love with Kojo. And you know, it wasn't hard to see why. Kojo might not have been rich, but he was hardworking, kind, and humble. He didn't have much, but he had Oma's love, and that seemed to be enough for both of them. Every evening, you'd see them by the river, talking and laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. But in the shadows, something dark was stirring. One day, Prince Andoh made his move. He approached Oma, dressed in his finest royal clothes, offering her everything she could ever want, riches, power, a life in the palace. He promised to make her a queen. He told her she deserved better than Kojo, that she was meant for a life of luxury. But Oma refused him, as kindly as she could. She explained that her heart belonged to Kojo, and no amount of gold could ever change that. Andoh's face darkened. I saw him storm away that day, and I had a feeling something bad was coming. Then, not long after, the whispers started. Kojo had gone missing. People said they saw him leave for work one morning, but he never returned. Oma was beside herself with worry, searching the village, asking everyone if they had seen him. But Kojo had vanished without a trace. Days passed, and the village began to fear the worst. Some whispered that wild animals might have attacked him in the forest. Others thought maybe he had fallen ill and wandered off, lost. But there were those of us who suspected something more sinister, though we dared not speak it aloud. Not when it involved the prince. Andoh, however, seemed unbothered. He returned to Oma not long after Kojo's disappearance, offering her gifts and riches once again, thinking she would now have no choice but to accept him. But Oma was strong. Even with Kojo gone, she wouldn't betray the love she had for him. She refused Andoh again, though you could see the sadness in her eyes, the worry that maybe Kojo was truly lost. But then, something no one could have predicted happened. It was late one evening, just as the sun was setting behind the mountains, casting long shadows over the village. I was passing by Oma's house when I heard a cry. It wasn't a cry of sadness, it was one of shock, of disbelief. I rushed over to see what had happened, and there, at Oma's doorstep, stood a figure no one thought they'd see again. It was Kojo. Alive. Barely standing, but alive. He was bruised, battered, and weak, but he had made it back. Oma rushed to him, her hands shaking as she helped him inside. The village was buzzing with shock. How had Kojo survived? What had happened to him? Over the next few days, as Oma nursed Kojo back to health, the truth slowly began to emerge. Kojo had been attacked, dragged away by Prince Andoh's men and left for dead in the forest. But somehow, through sheer willpower and love for Oma, Kojo had survived. He had crawled through the thick underbrush, battling his injuries, fighting to get back to the woman he loved. The village was in an uproar when they heard the truth. The whispers about Prince Andoh turned into open accusations. The elders called a meeting, and the chief had no choice but to investigate. Under pressure, Prince Andoh's guards confessed to their crime, and the prince's plot was exposed for all to see. The prince had tried to eliminate Kojo, thinking his power would be enough to claim Oma for himself. But love, as we soon realized, was far stronger than the prince had ever imagined. Prince Andoh was stripped of his title and banished from the village. The day he left, there was no fanfare, no royal send-off. He walked away in disgrace, leaving behind the life he had known, defeated not by swords or wealth, but by the simple, powerful love between a farmer and a village girl. And as for Kojo and Oma, their love story didn't end there. In fact, it only grew stronger. The village came together to celebrate their wedding, and I remember standing in the crowd, watching as they danced under the stars. The whole village cheered for them, not because they were rich or powerful, but because their love had survived against all odds. It's a story I'll never forget. I saw it with my own eyes, the rise and fall of a prince, and the love that stood strong through it all. To this day, people in our village still tell the tale of Kojo and Oma, reminding us all that true love, no matter how tested, will always find a way to triumph in the end.